Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's wonderful to be here. It's always wonderful to talk about controversial subjects. And this one is called On the Sex Trail. And really, what it is a hypothetical zoo exhibit, which I will draw up for you. If you're interested, let me know, then maybe we can design it in your particular zoo. This talk really will be display techniques. What's the purpose of life? What's the purpose of sex? What determines the sex? Courtship, copulation, bringing up the baby. What are males good for anyway? Which is actually a good question that females ask. And then if we have time, I'll talk about the frozen zoo. But firstly, let's talk about a holistic view of sex. Sex is possibly the most taboo subject in the world, yet we all talk about it and joke about it all the time, and are embarrassed about it too. Why are we obsessed with sex? Because reproduction is the biological purpose of life. So, if we had to do a zoo exhibit, a zoo trail on sex, the sex trail, what would we use? What techniques would we use? Well, obviously we use outdoor exhibits. Bonobos are the sexiest animals in the world, and so you would obviously have a display of bonobos. You use a range of indoor exhibits, live animals. You'd use high-definition television to project live animals. You'd use touchscreens and projection microscopes. You'd use computer-generated imagery, use motion simulators and 4D theaters, and that would probably wrap it up. Because you're dealing with very large animals and very microscopic animals when you talk about sex. But let's come back now to some of the fundamental issues in this display. What's the purpose of life? Well, as Richard Dawkins said, the selfish gene, the blind tendency of genes wanting to continue their existence into the next generation. That's really the purpose of life. And sex in the single girl, when we were all girls, reproduction was simple then. As with Hydra, we just budded off without any problems. And we're still budding off today. Aphids, these potato aphids, always clone off females. In fact, we call cloning virgin birth. Sometimes known as, to Christians anyway, immaculate conception. Therefore, presumably, Jesus must have been a female. Sex, we're having immaculate conception, thanks. These are whip lizards, they are only female, and they clone. They have pseudosex, the females have pseudosex with each other, and then they produce clones of themselves. With these wonderful tardigrades, which are microscopic little moss pigs, they have males when they need males. They're actually females, but sometimes when they need they clone themselves when they need to produce males, and then they have sex with the males to produce eggs. You want a piece of me? You've got to mess with all of me. Basically, the 9-banded armadillo has identical quadruplets. But sometimes we really need sex. Why? Because basically we need to get some other genetic material into us. Having sex, therefore, is not as good as cloning. It doesn't give you 100% of your own genetic material. It gives you 50%. But it does add genes, new genes to you. And what's the purpose of sex? Well, basically, to generate new genetic material. And this is to adapt to changes in the environment. And this is fundamentally why we have sex. Otherwise, if we didn't have changes in the environment, it would be logical for us to just be females and clone all the time. Now, what determines your sex? Well, basically, males, unfortunately for this is actually very anti-male talk. Unfortunately, males are genetically modified females, and males start to get very upset about that. Now, there's many ways to create males and females. The one that we use in humans and most mammals and some birds is to have genetic sex determination, which is determined by the X and the Y chromosome. And you can see the X chromosome is the big guy on the left, and the Y chromosome, the male chromosome, is that small mutant little thing on the right. It's not fair, is it, friends? So there are other ways to determine sex, and temperature-dependent sex determination is by pure temperature. So if you want a male, you turn up the temperature. If you want a female, you turn down the temperature. And probably it was primates that wiped out the dinosaurs. We know that there were meteorites and things happening 65 million years ago, but the global temperature went up, and that meant that all the dinosaurs that hatched out were probably males, and therefore they couldn't reproduce, and they died out. Courtship, choosing a mate. What happens? Well, you need to impress your mate. And you impress a female by various ways. It can be a flasher, like a firefly, and attract females this way. Or you can bring them gifts. Champagne, men bring champagne and chocolates. Well, the balloon fly brings a nuptial gift, which is eaten by the female while he is having sex with her. The ultimate gift, of course, is the spermatophore, which in the Mormon cricket is 27% the size of its body weight. It is a mixture of sperm and protein, which the female devours and uses to fertilize her eggs. The bowerbird decorates his nest with all sorts of things that he picks up to attract the female to come and lay her eggs there. And of course, there's courtship rivalry, and in this case, the winner takes all the girls. The elephant seal has harems of up to 100 females. Copulation, or the sperm quest, basically it's very interesting. There are many hermaphrodites in the world, and the clownfish is what we call a sequential hermaphrodite, where he's born a male and then eventually he turns into a female, as opposed to the grouper, which is basically born a female and then turns into a dominant male. There are also simultaneous hermaphrodites, like the earthworm, which have to therefore have mechanisms against self-fertilization. And of course, as you know, botanically, 80% of all angiosperms are hermaphrodites anyway. Let's look at copulation. Salmons, as you know, return to the same river that they were hatched in, and they have presumably what we call external copulation, where the female salmon guards her rib while the male fertilizes the eggs externally in the water. Oysters, most of them broadcast their eggs and sperms into the water, and fertilization takes place there. The female sunfish produces 300 million eggs into the ocean at one time, probably the largest number of any fish. And the lions copulate 150 times in 3 days. Why do they copulate so much? Well, because copulation induces ovulation in the case of cats and some other species like rabbits and camelids, and the barbs on the lion's penis hasten ovulation. Penis fixation, check your spam. If you look at the spam, you'll see 90% of all spam is about how to enlarge the size of the penis or take Viagra or Cialis to lengthen the period of copulation. So we are fixated by it already. Now, what does your octopus do? Well, basically, the octopus has one arm which is designed purely to deposit a sperm package in the female's mantle cavity. And in fact, the paper nautilus has a detachable penis which can swim over to the female. Swazon nerve 69, I don't know if you know that position. Well, the male spider has pedipalps on his arms, which contains sperm, which he will insert in the female's genital openings. You can have two penises, like, for instance, the male garter snake, which has two hendy penises, or in fact, why not have four penises, like the male echidna from Australia. If you're stuck in one place, what do? A barnacle. Well, barnacles have inflatable penises, which are 50 times longer than their body length, and they need that to go and find other barnacles. The corkscrew penis for a corkscrew uterus, the Argentinian lake duck has the longest penis of any bird in the world. It's actually 20 centimeters long. It It's corkscrew, and it has a brush at the end of it to clean out its competition's sperm. In Beijing, there's a penis restaurant which has a branch in Atlanta, Georgia, USA, and this is one of 30 delicacies. This is the yak's penis. The mating game. Well, basically, you flush out your male competitor's sperm before you copulate. This is done certainly in the cuttlefish. In the carrion beetle, the penis, the end of the penis of the carrion beetle actually has a scoop that scoops out the spermatophores before he deposits his spermatophore. Who's coming to the mating ball? Well, female anacondas attract male anacondas. Here is 12 males on top of one female. Females, obviously, fortunately, are much larger than males. And they put in a sperm plug when you actually do get to mate with the female to prevent other males from getting their sperm in. It's sort of like a chastity belt. And the queen bees and the drones, they mate in the air, and the poor male basically puts in his sperm plug and rips off the back of his abdomen, and he dies, but he ensures in his death that he has mated, and his sperm will go to the female. More of an orgy than a ball. Well, basically the king toads have mating balls, and it's obviously sometimes very fatal for the female who's at the bottom of that heap of toads. There's no such thing as a quickie with a stick insect, because basically they mate all night. And one of the reasons for that is to keep other males away from mating with the female, so that the male knows that his sperm is the one that fertilized the eggs. Death by sex. Basically, the male marsupial mouse mates solidly for 2 weeks and then dies from exhaustion. What a way to go. What about sadomasochistic tendencies? Well, love darts, foreplay. The snails shoot calcified darts out at each other to stimulate each other. The banana slug basically is a hermaphrodite, has male and female parts, and basically it has a very large penis. It sometimes gets stuck and they just bite it off and carry on, and then it's no longer a hermaphrodite, but it turns into a female. Traumatic insemination, male bed bugs inject sperm into the female's abdomen, leaving her with open wounds, a very traumatic way to have sex. But the ultimate cleaning machine is surely the penis of the sea beetle, which, as you see there, is more like a cleaning machine than a fertilizing machine. Anyway, so we deal with the mating game. What about bringing up baby? Well, literally bringing up baby is the gastric breathing frog, which is actually, I think, extinct now. It was only discovered about 10 years ago in Australia, but it actually keeps the babies in its stomach and then burps them up when they are born. As opposed to the bush turkey, which is also Australian, which keeps the eggs in a big pile of compost and regulates the heat by composting. The queen of the colony, like the mole rat, suppresses breeding in all other females, so she is the only one that breeds in the colony. And a womb with a view, marsupial possums are raised in pouches by their mother. But you don't have to be a marsupial to have a pouch. The female giant isopod also has a brood pouch that she keeps the eggs in. And basically, baby alligators, like scorpions, get carried around by the mother to give them a little bit of a head start in life. And imagine the burying beetle, a miserable character. Ants, bees, and burying beetles are the only insects that raise their young. And here is a pair of burying beetles in their corpse, looking after their young larvae. Sibling rivalry is very interesting. In the blue nurse sharks in the uterus, there are several young sharks hatch out, and the first thing the first shark does, it eats his brothers and sisters, so that you only have 2 sharks, one in each uterus. Kookaburra chicks quite often kill their weaker siblings to preempt food shortages, and Nazca boo-boos lay 2 eggs. The elder chick, when it hatches out, immediately kills the younger chick And the parents just look on and do not intervene. Quite often, hyena siblings, especially females who are the dominant ones, kill fight to the death as pups. And parasitism is one of those things where basically you get a sucker to raise your kid. This is a red warbler's nest with the larger cuckoo's egg, and as you can see, the cuckoo chick basically pushes the egg out of the nest, so he is the only one left there. Parental altruism is a very interesting thing as well. The Pacific giant octopus female raises about 50 kilos of eggs for about 6 months, and then she dies. But the young carry on, as opposed to having mommy for dinner, which is totally unconditional love. The female earwigs lays her brood, and then when they hatch out, they eat her. Sometimes father ends up as grub for the grubs as well. The bee wolf paralyzes the father and takes it and uses it for feed. And the wood duckling has a very interesting behavior. It jumps straight out of a nest, which could be up to 40 meters in height, on the day it hatches out, and lands and then walks off with the mother. Monogamy is very interesting. Man evolved to be polygamous, and much of the world is actually still polygamous, although we don't realize it. And there's 76% chance of one parent in a human relationship having an affair, and divorce rates are up by 50%. As Nora Ephron says, you want monogamy, marry a swan. Well, now we're learning even swans are not very monogamous. But one way to ensure monogamy is to put your female into a hole and seal it up and feed her through the hole there. What happens when you come into heat? Well, basically you have visual and pheromone cues for heat. And do women come into heat? Actually, they do. We have pheromones attracting males, and they're more willing to mate during females when they're on ovulation. When the proverbial milkman knocks, it's interesting to know with genetic studies, it's between 10 to 30% of children are not sired by their legal father in marriages today, and 30% of bird couples are not sired by their mates either. What are males good for anyway? Wham bam, thank you ma'am. Basically, male parenting ranges from indifference to infanticide. Male lions are not really interested in raising their cubs. To induce quick ovulation, Shakma baboons indulge in infanticide and kill the babies. Males do have some uses though. The female anglerfish, which lives right down the bottom of the sea, that's the male on a head, and he's there as a sort of like a thumb drive and just basically passes as sperm every time she needs it. The male praying mantis is an intercoital snack. She eats him and his head during copulation. And venison, then a cigarette after sex, basically. Once the female spider has finished with her mate, she eats him. Why do some males invest a lot of time, basically, in carrying their eggs around or incubating their eggs, or brooding and giving birth to their young as males? And they raise them too, like the rears. And sometimes they even breastfeed them. The male diet actually the male and the female both breastfeed their young, the only mammals to do so. And really it's just to make sure that they are the father of those babies. As you can see here in the arowana, that it is a mouth brooder. A world without men, basically, we know about mitochondrial DNA. About 140,000 years ago, we know that this was the main source of passed down from Eve, who was the female from Africa. Mitochondrial DNA is passed from mother to daughter. This is as opposed to the Y chromosome, where basically all men pass down the Y chromosome. There is a guy called Brian Sykes, who's an Oxford professor, who basically has written this book, Adam's Curse. He predicts that males will die out in the next 125,000 years because the Y chromosome cannot repair itself. It's getting more mutated each time it reproduces itself. what would happen a world without men? US prisons, populations would drop by 97%. There'd be no more wars, and road deaths would fall by 70%. Haploidization, basically two females can actually produce a baby together, one producing the egg and the other one producing genetic material so that actually they can have a baby. So in fact, males are totally redundant in this world if we want to have a world without males. Finally, the frozen zoo, and I'm finishing, cryo-biobanking. Basically, we can talk, this is an exhibit in the zoo, so we can talk about what happens in zoos as well. We can show frozen material for artificial insemination, IVF, embryo transfer, cloning. We can show parthenogenesis in captivity. This was a Komodo dragon, which was born in Chester, 2006. No males, so it was a parthenogenesis or virgin birth. Cloning endangered species. Basically, this is the first camel that was cloned in 2009. In vitro fertilization, in 2010, Omaha Memphis Zoo in IVF 1,400 dusky gopher frogs. And finally, just last month, researchers at Cambridge University have created the first ever animal with artificial information in its genetic code. And that is very interesting. C. elegans is a very small nematode or worm that they did it in. And basically, that's it. Thank you very much.